And with 6 games remaining, the Boston Bruins also are staring down the barrel that is the playoffs. And after their playoff disappointment that was last season, what are they going to do? My big question is, who's going to be their goaltender for game 1? Because they kept continuously talking about all season long, we're going to platoon. We're going to platoon. It's going to be Swayman or Ullmark, and then the next game is going to be the other guy, whoever it is. Well, so far, I went back to that to the website that I got my stats from, which is quanthockey.com, which gave me all the goalie stats that I need, and I could even put in certain dates and how they did. And I used that right after the trade deadline to show that Ullmark, right after the trade deadline, was performing better than Swayman. Now, I went back to it because I still wanted to see if Swayman was able to make up any ground. Because even though Ullmark, since the trade deadline, which was March 8th, I put everything in from March 9th to today, April 3rd, Ullmark is 4-2. Swayman is 3-2. Ullmark is 3rd in the NHL with a 1.51 goals against average, whereas Swayman is 38th in the NHL with a 3.37 goals against average. And I should make a note that since all these stats are all the goaltenders that have played a minimum of 5 games or more since March 9th. All right. And so Ullmark is 3rd in the NHL once again with a .950 save percentage, where Swayman is 45th in the NHL with an .858 save percentage. So if the playoffs started today, I don't understand why you would platoon. If anything, you need to keep Ullmark as your guy and ride him. Now, granted, I don't trust either of these guys, but I was on the boat of saying, give me Swayman. Give me Swayman. That's the guy that we need because we need to see what we have in him in order to prepare us for the future. But you didn't. You kept Ullmark. You couldn't get rid of him. You couldn't find the right deal for him. You couldn't figure out a place where he wanted to go and the return you could have got for him. But now Ullmark is doing better than him. You know, Ullmark is the guy. If they platoon, they're going to be foolish for doing that. But if they play Ullmark, they're going against everything they've talked about all season. So these teams, I have to admit, have to stop, predicting the future and stop lying to us. Because either way, the Bruins don't look good in this scenario. Now, going into the playoffs, it's going to be interesting to see because the NHL standings as it currently stands, Boston is number 1 in the Atlantic with 103 points. Florida is right behind, just 4 points behind them. Both teams have clinched playoff spots. Florida's got 99, and then Toronto hasn't clinched, but they are at 95 points, which is 4 points behind the Panthers. Meanwhile, in the Metro Division, you have the Rangers and Hurricanes. Both have clinched playoff spots. The Rangers are number 1 with 104 points. The Hurricanes are 2 with 101 points. The Rangers, meanwhile, are number 1 in the President Trophy race. And the Flyers are at 3rd with 83 points. Meanwhile, in the wild card, you have the Lightning, who are holding steady at number 1 in the wild card with 89 points. The Capitals are tied, but hold the number 2 wild card spot with 82 points. The Red Wings are the team that the Capitals are tied with 82, but they are just out based on the tiebreakers. And then you have the Islanders with 81 and the Penguins with 79. So as it currently stands, if the playoffs started tonight, then the Bruins would be playing the Lightning. And that scares the crap out of me. That absolutely scares the crap out of me. And because the way Tampa has played Boston this season, has been a little surprising to me. Now, before I continue on, not Doug saying it's all about who's hot. That's right. Which is the hotter goaltender? And clearly it is Ullmark. And that's why, I don't want this platoon. Even though the Bruins have been telling us they're going to platoon, clearly it's Ullmark. And if they platoon, they're going to be foolish. But if they, stick with Ullmark, then they basically lied to us saying that, hey, we've been platooning, we're going to platoon. Well, no, you're not, because you're going to ride the guy that's hot. But with Tampa, that scares me because even though, yeah, all right, 89, 104, like points are just getting you to the playoffs. But when you play, anything goes. I've talked about this once, and I'll say it again. Playoff hockey is the craziest playoffs you will ever see. It is the best playoff you will ever see. That's the playoffs where even if the Bruins don't even make the playoffs, I will sit and watch playoff hockey because of how fun and entertaining it is. Because if you've never heard of puck luck, you're going to be hearing it a lot, especially on this show, come playoff time. Because puck luck is a real thing. It is a real thing where it doesn't matter if you're the best team. Just a half an inch can be the difference between a goal and hitting the post. That's all it takes. All it takes. Crazy bounces left and right can be the difference. And that's what scares me about the Bruins and playing the Lightning, because the Lightning have played well. I've been paying attention to the Lightning this season, and I thought they sucked for a long time, most of this season. But they've snuck in. They've turned it on. And talk about being a hot team. They have been turning it on recently. And especially, like I said, the way they've been playing the Bruins, Vasilevsky, to me, is the greatest goaltender in the world. And if he's on, he's on. And that's why, to me, I don't want to play the Lightning. But a team I do want to play, and I don't think we will based on the way this season is looking like it's going to end, is Toronto. Because let's face it, the Maple Leafs are going to do Maple Leaf things. They are softer than you. And that's why I want to play them, because somehow, some way, the Maple Leafs are fake tough guys, and the Bruins aren't, much better. They are weak. They are softer team. They're a more skilled team. But the Maple Leafs, man, they have all the talent in the world, but somehow the Bruins own that ass. They do. And that's why I want to play Toronto more than anybody. But I don't think that's going to happen. Meanwhile, the Bruins probably have to win the President's Trophy in order to play the last wild card team, which right now would be the Capitals. And I'm 50-50 on them because even though, we're 1-1 against them this season, they shut us out after we dominated against the Canucks right after the trade deadline. Right after the All-Star break, excuse me. And then we just beat them on Saturday, I think it was, in a 3-2 shootout, which, to Boston's credit, killing a 4-minute 4-on-3 in overtime had to have been a moment that if the Bruins can make a run, a deep run at that, make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, that's going to be a moment that they're gonna highlight to and be like, right there, killing a 4-minute 4-on-3 in overtime against Washington and then winning in the shootout. That's where we knew we are going to be good enough to make a run. And then, of course, the Bruins also play the Capitals one more time, which will be the second to last game of the season. So that would be kind of an interesting playoff preview if we play them in the second to last game and then everything works out the way it does and we end up playing the Capitals. That would be actually pretty funny to me. But the last team would be the Red Wings. And we're 2-2 against the Red Wings this season. So again, Detroit, again, kind of the same way, 50-50. What scares me too with playing any of those teams, the second wild card, is that they're going to be fighting for their lives just to get in. They're going to be playing every game like it's their last, like they got nothing to lose, which is exactly what the Panthers did last year, and we all know how that went. And that's what scares me about playing a team like that. Whereas if you play the third place team or the second place team, in the division, then you're both kind of sitting there relaxed, you're fine, and then everything ramps up. So it's going to be interesting to me to see how everything plays out. But the Bruins right now, they got to figure it out. They got to figure out the goaltender. The numbers are the numbers. Ullmark's hot right now, but Swayman's got to get his act together. He does. He's got to figure it out, because if he's still playing like that come playoff time, then I would be okay with either letting Swayman walk or paying him a very, very cheap contract for the next couple of years. So tell me what you think.